The next clip that I want to show you, I felt so much compassion. My heart actually was aching during the event for this young man. This is exactly who my speech was about. This is exactly who I was talking about. This is exactly who I was talking to. And I mean, I know you're going to feel that same heartache when you hear this young man. Take a listen.
As someone who has self-harmed numerous times before coming out as trans, I now am trans, and I have since stopped self-harming and attempting suicide as I had beforehand. So I also find the statistic that you have claimed that many people who transition start harming themselves then very strange. Where have you gotten that information?
I don't think I said that. First of all, I'm really glad that you're in a better mental place. I think we can all agree that if someone is trying to self-harm or if someone is trying to kill themselves and they've gotten to a point that they're not, I'm happy about that. I'm not happy that you've embraced queer theory, because I ultimately think that won't serve you well. I don't think that will help you flourish. I wish that someone had said to you before you began your transition that you are beautiful just the way that you are, that you're beautiful in the body that you were made with, that God gave you, and that there's mental health care for you that can help you with your tendency or your inclination to harm yourself, to harm your body. There's things that you can seek, and I encourage you to seek, to address that without embracing an ideology that will ultimately lead to self-destruction. There are studies, if you're talking about the suicide rates of people who undergo transitions, there are studies that show that if you undergo a surgical transition, there might be a year or so where the suicide rate goes down, but it returns to its previous rate several years post-surgery, in addition to you having the physical issues that come with these experimental surgeries, which are not just experimental, but they come with a lot of side effects. They don't work. If they weren't underpinned by a leftist ideology, they wouldn't be approved for use in the public, because they would be acknowledged in the medical community that they do more harm than good. So if you're looking for help, there are so many people that are willing to help you. I encourage you to go to GenSpect. They're an amazing group that is willing to help people just like you, because you are worth it. Thank you for your question.
I would like to just ask one follow-up question.
Sure.
So you do mention that people after surgery do end up self-harming. Are you aware of why?
Yeah, so the argument that underpins your question is you're saying that our country is not tolerant, right? That they're bullied and they're pushed towards mental health issues because of, you would probably say, people like me. But the study that I'm referencing is actually from a Scandinavian country where they don't have necessarily the same moral fabric that we do. It's a very inclusive, very tolerant society, and there isn't the same division on this issue. So that statistic that I referenced, I believe it's from Sweden. You can fact check me on which Scandinavian country that it's from, but that wasn't a study that was done here in the United States. So the reason that they're continuing to self-harm after is because a transition, whether it's social, whether it's chemical, whether it's surgical, is not a cure for what they're suffering from. If you feel disassociated from your own body, it's either a dissociative disorder or it's a gender disorder where you don't feel comfortable, you feel like you were born in the wrong body, but surgery doesn't cure that. Chemical castration doesn't cure that. What you need, or anybody suffering from this, what they need is the mental health care to actually address those thoughts and those feelings. They don't need something that simply mutilates the outside of their body.
And I'm not going to sit here and pretend to diagnose this young man. My heart just aches for him. But you saw him. You saw that he was suffering and that he'd been exploited by the queer theorists who told him that the answer to his pain was to reject his identity. And that just breaks my heart. We have a generation of young people who are crying for help, and instead we've allowed the left to capture them. This is why I don't care about any of the threats. This is why I don't care about the backlash. I don't care about the ad hominems, because I refuse to sit by and let a young man like that suffer and be used as a pawn in an evil political game.